Thanks, Craig. So welcome to this final session, Connecting ArcGIS with Your Wider Business. I'm Robin and joined here with Molly, and we're going to explore how you can expand the reach of ArcGIS across your organisation using familiar Microsoft applications. So here's our plan for the next 20 minutes or so. We'll explain the relationship between Esri and Microsoft. We'll look at why using ArcGIS within Microsoft applications is a great vehicle to serve your users. And then we'll explore each of the integrations in turn. It's a lot to cover in 20 minutes, so we're going to have to keep it quite brief. So Esri and Microsoft have a long-standing relationship going back 20 plus years, which has resulted in many technical capabilities, from hosting ArcGIS Enterprise in Azure, to storing spatial data within SQL Server, to supporting direct read and write of Excel files from ArcGIS Pro. Over the more recent years, we've built a range of products together with the aim of making spatial tools available and accessible to anybody within an organisation. These products include Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Power BI, Teams, and Power Automate. Now, most of these capabilities are accessible by simply having an ArcGIS end user, but some, such as Power BI, are actually just embedded within the product and available to all.
If you take a look at a typical organisation, it's filled with many people who may know little about GIS, but a lot about their core domain. There are the experts in whatever that business may be, and then there are the people who analyse that business. If an organisation is lucky, they'll have a few GIS analysts, but that's likely to be a small amount of people comparatively. On top of that, they may have some data scientists who do the likes of Python and or scripting, but again, that's likely to be a minority. One way to expose everyone to the benefits of spatial is by embedding spatial into the technologies that they're using every day. And what better way to do this than by using some of the most prevalent products on the market? Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, Power BI, Power Automate, and Teams.
So to bring our demonstrations to life today, we're going to use a fictitious scenario based around a real use case of a business that's benefited from the capabilities provided by these ArcGIS Microsoft integrations. Cakesry is a mid-sized cake business based in South Wales that took off selling products during the COVID lockdown. Famous for Wales's best banana bread, Cakesry now offers a range of celebration cakes, and we've expanded our workforce and our customer reach in response. As our business grows, we're using the ArcGIS and Microsoft integrations to ensure that we're making the best possible decisions along the way.
Let's take a look at our first product, ArcGIS for Office. This is a plugin available for Excel and PowerPoint, two applications I'm pretty sure collectively as a group we've spent a few lifetimes on. Once the add-in is installed, you can easily map your tabular data in that all too familiar Excel environment. It's simply the quickest way to get your Excel data on a map. Not only can you create immediate spatial visualizations from your data, you can edit and clean your tabular data as you go and watch this being reflected on the map. Once you've created a map that you're happy with, that can be further enhanced by bringing in layers from ArcGIS, you can then share this as an interactive visualization within Microsoft PowerPoint. So who is this for? This application has been designed with the non-GIS expert in mind, but for those still seeking to gain and share spatial insights from their tabular data. Returning to our cake shop example, this is being used by our operations and strategy team to gain a geographical understanding of our current customer base and use these insights to inform the location of a number of supermarket stockists. So let's take a closer look. I'm currently looking at some tabular data containing customer information collected from previous online orders. But I'd like to use this to inform my selection of a number of supermarket stockists. As you can see here on the top of the screen, I have a nice new ArcGIS tab available to me once I have the add-in installed. I can add my map in from here, or I happen to already have one in the oven. Expect many cake puns. And I'm ready to get my Excel data on the map. So it's a really straightforward process. I can simply add in from Excel, and the add-in can read what table I have open in front of me. I'll then select the location type I'd like to use, so it can be coordinates, addresses, or geographies. I'm going for postal codes this time, my desired geolocator, and match that up to the correct field, and add that to my map. So I'm getting an idea of the geographical spread of my customer base, but I'd like to refine this a little bit further and show only the highest value customers to me. So I can do this by introducing a filter within my Excel table. So I'll select a number filter to be greater than or equal to £40. We're honing in on the sweet tooths. And there you have it. So as you can see, that's immediately been filtered on my map. So there's some really nice communication going on between these two aspects, which is particularly useful if you need to edit and clean your Excel data. So now I know where my highest value customers are located. I want to see where that is in relation to my potential supermarket stockists. To give you a little bit of background, our cake business is growing, and we've had a few offers come in from from supermarkets to stock our wares. But we're not quite at a stage where we can upscale production just yet. So we'd like to select the supermarkets we're likely to sell the best. So you can bring in additional layers from ArcGIS, or alternatively, in this case, if you've got further data sitting in another sheet, you can bring it in as an additional layer. I've done this a little bit earlier on, and I'll switch it on. So there you have it. You can now see where customers are in relation to these potential supermarket locations. I can take this analysis a little bit further, all within Excel, by conducting a drive time analysis. You've got a few options available to you with the drive time analysis. You can base it by distance or time. I think time suits me, 10 minutes. And you can incorporate live traffic within your output and even set the travel direction for customers going towards the supermarkets. And it'll look a little something like this. So I can immediately see what customers are within a close vicinity to my supermarkets, which is giving me a clear idea of where might be the best candidates. I have some summary data within my Excel sheet that exists within a pivot table. So this is the sum of total sales per postal towns. And I'd like to see what this looks like on my map. This can easily be done with this add-in. You can join pivot tables to existing boundaries available from ArcGIS, and your output will look a little something like this. So there you have it. I'm gaining so much more insights than if I was just looking at my tabular data in isolation. Some clear winners are being evident to me in the likes of Swansea and Cardiff, but with the remaining few options, I'd like to take this back to my operations and strategy team. And I can do this by means of introducing this into my Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. So let's jump back. So as you can see here, I'm in edit mode within my Microsoft PowerPoint. And again, in a similar way to ArcGIS for Excel, I have an ArcGIS tab available to me where I can add in my interactive map within my PowerPoint presentation. As you're seeing here, I'm adding in a map from my ArcGIS account. These can be publicly available maps, your organizations, or your own. And I'm making a few selections, like deciding what layers I'd like to include, and also scaling that to size. This is being inserted into the Cake Street operations and strategy deck. I'm currently deliberating between 3 remaining options, in the likes of Barry, Port Talbot, and Fishguard, to see which one provides the best candidate for a supermarket to stock our wares. When I take this to my team in the meeting and click Present Mode, I can simply unlock my map, which puts it into live mode. And this allows me to fully interrogate my map. I can pan around the space to explore the geographical area. I can even learn more about the data that's driving the map by revealing pop-ups. Or I can turn layers on and off to draw my viewers' attention to particular assets. Not only is this facilitating more communication and collaboration during meetings, which is all the more difficult when done virtually these days, it really enables my team and I to better make more informed decisions within our business practices. Moving on to our second product, ArcGIS for SharePoint. With this capability, you can map and spatially search your SharePoint content. You can location enable your SharePoint content on the fly with our geocoding workflow, meaning your SharePoint lists are always likely to will always be map ready, even if you continue to add to them. Additionally, you can geotag and geosearch your files, offering you a unique and innovative way of organizing and searching for your SharePoint content. So, who is this for? From an administration side, this is for your SharePoint site administrator to get up and running. They can set up and configure this app to enable maps to be included in your SharePoint sites, in addition to the geotagging and geosearching functionalities, which I'll be showing a little bit later. From there, the rest of your organization can access and enjoy this application by using the map to gain some geographical context to either a project or a market they may be working within, and also using the interactive map to search for documents by simply selecting an asset or an area and all of the relevant SharePoint documentation being revealed to them. They can even contribute to this process by continuing to tag their documents as you go. Returning to our cake shop example, we're a few months down the line and things are going well. We've expanded our workforce and we've decided on a number of supermarket retailers. But as we've grown, so has our SharePoint site, and things have started to get pretty busy, and we'd like to find a better way of organizing. So I can easily do this as a SharePoint site administrator by bringing in an app, just as you were seeing in the ArcGIS for Office demo. I can create a map that suits my desired output. Currently, I'm adding in my desired visualizations, configuring my pop-ups, introducing some labels. But instead of tabular data from Excel being mapped, as in the ArcGIS for Office demo, in this case, I'm using geocoded SharePoint lists that have been all geocoded right here in SharePoint. I have a few finishing touches I'd like to add, including switching up my base map and bringing in an additional boundary layer from ArcGIS. And now for the icing on the cake. I'm now able to configure my geotagging functionalities. I'm going to base these on the location name field for my supermarket retailers. And from there, the rest of my workforce can simply assign SharePoint documents to the relevant geographical locations. So as you're seeing here, I'm dragging and dropping Barry's distribution agreement to the relevant point on the map. And the documents you're inserting don't have to share the same name as the geotags. If you know it relates to that specific geographical area, pop it on the map. From there, your users will have a few choices in terms of the geo-searching capabilities. They can select a relevant area on the map, and once they select it, all of the relevant SharePoint document will be revealed to them, as is happening with Cardigan right now. Or alternatively, they can search by the name of the geotag itself. I simply type in Swansea, and all of the relevant tagged SharePoint documentation will be revealed to me.
ArcGIS for Power BI is the next on the list. Power BI is one of the fastest growing Microsoft applications and one that we get the most inquiries about. Unlike the previous two examples, ArcGIS for Power BI is actually embedded into the product as is, so there's no need for a separate download. It enhances the mapping capabilities offered elsewhere and provides a rich set of visualizations and analysis capability directly within these dashboards. It means you can start to understand the location aspect of your data by visualizing that data spatially or performing simple analysis such as similarity search, drive time search, and cluster analysis. With access to the wider ArcGIS system, you can also add additional context layers onto your map to gain a richer understanding of your data. It's like having a multi-layered Victoria sandwich where each layer represents more additional context and understanding. So who is this for? The typical users of Power BI within a business are business and data analysts who are creating simple dashboards and reports that are then shared to the wider organisation to help them with their own decision making. In our Cakery example, Power BI is being used by the marketing team. They run local events around the country and use Power BI to understand the sales associated with those local events and to identify potential new locations to run them. So let's dive into Power BI. This is a typical Power BI dashboard looking at that sales information. And on the left-hand side, we can see that split by postal town, and we can see the bar chart in the center showing the initial inquiry and where it came from. But it's screaming out for a visualization to see where the spatial distribution of this data is. So let's switch across to our second dashboard. Here we've embedded the out-of-the-box mapping capability that is provided by Microsoft, and it does allow me to start visualizing where my customers are, and I can drill into those that relate to a particular type of inquiry, in this case, the local events. But I'd still like to get further context. And this is where ArcGIS Maps comes in. So we can create a similar visualization to the one we saw a moment ago. In this case, I've just simply symbolized the colors differently according to the inquiry type, and the size of the icons is indicating the sales value. So we can clearly see a spatial distribution within our data. But now I have access to additional layers. So I can turn on where are the event locations, maybe bring those to the top. And we can see in this case, the existing event locations shown with the green icon represent where we've had the best sales. And we can look at these potential locations around the sides. But which of those should I use for running my next event? Well, again, some additional context would help here. So I want to bring in, from the Living Atlas, some population data. And I can now start to see, of those potential locations, which ones have got the largest population living nearby. But maybe I want to be even more precise. In this dashboard, what we're seeing is all of the existing and potential locations mapped out, and I've symbolized them according to the size of the potential market within a 15-minute drive time. If we just zoom into Cardiff and Cardiff Bay, you can see that they're the largest circles. And at the table at the top, I can see the actual population that lives within a 15-minute drive of those locations. But where did I get that information from? In this case, that was data that was enriched against the Living Atlas using Power Automate. And that's a great segue to our next tool. Power Automate, previously known as Microsoft Flow, is a tool for automating repetitive tasks to improve efficiency within an organization. ArcGIS for Power Automate is a new capability in its first release that provides out-of-the-box connectors to use ArcGIS as both triggers or actions within these workflows. It's a bit like having a machine that automatically checks whether your cake is ready and then switches off the oven and takes it out when it is done. You can use Power Automate to enrich your location data, as you saw a moment ago. You could create new features in ArcGIS from data that's being mastered in another system, or you could simply extract information from ArcGIS to use elsewhere, as in Power BI. So who is this for? As this capability is all about automating things behind the scenes, the typical users are IT professionals wishing to improve business processes for the wider business, although it is actually quite easy to get started. So how would Cakesry use Power Automate? Let's think back to those potential event locations. Power Automate could be used in a couple of different ways. On the left here is an example workflow that I've created, whereby when staff are on the road, maybe using Survey 123 to record information about potential locations, as they submit that survey, that triggers an action within Power Automate that then enriches that data with details about the population living within a 15-minute drive time, and then writes that information as a new row into an existing table that can then be used by other people. On the right-hand side is a slightly different example. On a regular basis, maybe every hour, I want to extract a whole cut of the data from ArcGIS Online to a CSV file that's stored then within OneDrive so that it can be then used elsewhere, very much as I did in Power BI. Those are just two examples of things that you can do with Power Automate. But on screen now is a list of all the different triggers and actions currently available, from enriching data to performing drive time analysis, or simply extracting the data. There's lots of different examples of things that you could automate.
Moving on to our last product, ArcGIS for Teams. Alongside ArcGIS for Power Automate, ArcGIS for Teams is one of the newest Esri Microsoft integrations. With an increase of people working from home, Teams has emerged as a center of communication for many organizations. And with this add-in, users can access maps, layers, and dashboards from ArcGIS, all from the one centralized team location. The easy-to-use chatbots allow you to search for ArcGIS content via keyword search within a Teams chat. You can share and collaborate on ArcGIS content with coworkers in seconds, either in your chats or in your channels, and streamline workflows and save valuable time by making quick edits within the ArcGIS Viewer tab on Teams, and you can save these changes to your ArcGIS account. So who is this for? The very nature of this product means it's designed to be accessible by everyone in your workforce. Even if they have little to no familiarity with GIS, they can easily view and understand your organization's ongoing GIS work. In terms of our cake shop example, Robin and I happen to work in different parts of the UK, so Teams is a pretty vital form of communication for us. As you can see, once the app is installed, there's an icon available for ArcGIS maps on the left-hand side of the screen. Or alternatively, which I'm doing currently, I'm sending a message to Robin, and there's an ArcGIS Maps icon available underneath the text box, where I can search for and include any ArcGIS content that I'd like to insert in my message. This again can be publicly available, organizational, or my own. To give you a little bit of context, Robin is an important sales call leader, and I've conducted some market analysis on GIS that I think will be helpful for him. Robin can easily access it, and he's happy with the work, but he's got a little bit of feedback for me. He'd like me to include the supermarkets within the map, And even though the countdown's on, the meeting's in a few minutes, I can make these changes all within Teams by simply opening up the ArcGIS Maps Viewer tab and bringing in that additional layer from my ArcGIS account. I can make symbology changes just as you typically would on the new map viewer, and any changes I've made and I'd like to save will be saved to my ArcGIS account. So this means that if this map is sitting elsewhere, either in a dashboard or in a web map, these will be updated too. So again, GIS is acting as a single form of the truth. So we're all done with minutes to spare. I'll simply alert Robin of this and include this again. And now, Robin's ready to take the meeting by storm with the last one, I swear, showstopper of a map.
So there we have it, a whistle-stop tour through 5 different ArcGIS Microsoft integrations in only 20 minutes. There are absolutely loads of resources online to help you get up and running with these tools, and we hope that we've inspired you to take a look when you're back in the office to see how you might use them to support your users within your own organisations. And the cherry on the top, you probably have all of these tools and the required licenses already. So give it a go. Thank you.